This is the political perspective. Just remember, if you ain't political, you do not have a perspective.
All right. Political perspective this week. Reggie, glad to have you back for this segment, bro.
Right.
What's going on this week? I done seen a lot. Trump's still doubling down on how the Epstein list is a hoax. I saw something, him deciding to send a missile to the Venezuelan drug carriers, which should be a crime. If y'all not familiar with that, y'all should Google it. Where are we going this week, bro?
So, I mean, I wanted to kind of mention both of those just as kind of like headlines for people to take a look at.
Sure.
But Trump launching missiles at Venezuela is really considered an act of war.
Absolutely.
To have any military exercise in any foreign country, it is an act of war. Now, what we see is this, and this is actually quite, I don't really have the words for it, but we appear to be able to bomb anybody indiscriminately. And there's nothing that, obviously there's nothing that Venezuela can do.
Right.
Like they can't fly a jet over other countries because you have to have permission to fly through their airspace. They probably even have an air force. Like most countries don't even have like the robust kind of military that we are accustomed to having. You know, an army, a navy, an air force. We got space force. We got national guard. We have Marines, and we all over the world. Most countries had no way of combating that. So the fact that he just dropped bombs on Venezuela was just kind of crazy. The other headline that I wanted to mention was and I was hoping James was on here for this part, is that Florida, their Surgeon General, I believe, has stated that there will no longer be a vaccine mandate for any children in Florida, which is an interesting development, considering what vaccines have done, not just in the United States, but throughout the world, for eradicating diseases that used to take people out. And now it's not going to be mandated for kids to have their vaccine before they attend school. We don't know what the impact that's going to be for diseases being spread. But it's something that we have not. I believe vaccines have been mandatory since the early 80s. It's been mandatory. So it's a change in philosophy, but it really is really an attack on science and an attack on research, because we have a lot of people who had their kind of feelings about COVID, their conspiracies, or just angst about COVID. And the COVID vaccination was just another part of just that kind of bad feeling that people had just about vaccinations. A lot of it was, misinformation. A lot of it was just bad information that was being put out there. But people have, how they feel about the COVID vaccination. But for that to have now traveled to all vaccines, is really kind of alarming.
I got a question real quick. So typically when it's things like this that happen, as you get older, you understand that it's mostly about money. And I can't seem to figure out financially, who does this benefit?
I don't believe it benefits anyone financially. And for whatever reason, we are at a time in history and in politics where it looks like power is trumping money. Because there should be a push from vaccine manufacturers,
right?
Through their lobbyists, through their campaign donations and contributions, to be able to compel politicians not to do things like this.
Right.
However, if you are attempting to cultivate a certain culture, then your currency is people. Your currency is votes, as opposed to your currency being money. And the calculus is I may not be able to get the money from the pharmaceutical companies, but I'm going to get the support from obviously from MAGA, obviously from Republicans or anybody that believes in that, and that in this climate is more valuable than a check. Having that, just that resource of people. But you would think that it would be so much money that it wouldn't be something that you could just snap your fingers and get out of without it being some serious repercussions. But that has really kind of transitioned into issues that politicians are having with the Center for Disease Control. So today, Robert F. Kennedy was testified in Congress, and they asked him a lot of questions. It's very interesting if you ever get a chance to watch some some congressional hearings, especially the ones that are pretty kind of testy, because they really kind of some of it is theater, but they are attempting to ask like the tough questions. And within the CDC, they have been changing a lot of their guidelines and mandates that a lot of the physicians throughout the country are just totally against. And it's gotten so bad that California, Oregon, and Seattle have created their own commission that is going to develop healthcare best practices throughout that region. So they're not even going to be following the CDC, and it's almost kind of like we don't even really know. Well, the information has become so blurry and so contested that we don't really have a real grasp on what is actually, what's actually true, versus somebody's pushing a narrative. So
just to be clear, you said California, Oregon, and Seattle. Is it just Seattle or the entire state of Washington?
I think the state of Washington. I think
okay.
Right about that.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear.
Yeah. So, but yeah, they created this commission. They're going to bypass the CDC and they're going to create best practices on how to handle healthcare in their states. Something that has never really happened because the federal government, which runs the CDC, gives so much resources to different areas to be able to to be able to fund vaccine projects and things of that nature. A lot of that comes from the federal government, but they kind of see the writing on the wall. If you got states like Florida that's saying that vaccines are no longer going to be mandatory, that at some point the federal government is going to probably say vaccines are no longer going to be mandatory because it's a federal statute that says vaccines are mandatory. Yeah. But the way to get vaccines to no longer be mandatory is to stop funding it. So we'll just, and we see that's how Trump and the Trump administration gets things done. They just won't fund it. They don't have to say we're not doing it no more. We'll just say we're not going to fund it. So with no money, not going to be able to have those resources. So
where is that money going? Where is that money? Question.
It's going to somebody. You know it is.
Yeah. Kawhi Leonard.
So the last thing I had was there's been reports that the Trump Department of Justice is looking at ways of banning transgender people from owning firearms. So this stemmed from the mass shooting that we had last week in Minnesota, where a person that reports have it that this person may have been transgender went into a church and shot I think maybe 20 people. I think two were killed. But as a result, within some internal documents, it has been rumored that that's going to be something that's going to be debated on whether or not transgender people will have the right to own firearms. And if we think that's far-fetched, right? If we think that's far-fetched, let's think of a couple of months ago, transgenders just with a swipe of the pen were no longer able to serve in the military.
Right.
And they were essentially kicked out of the military. If you took the package, You didn't take the package. You were just removed from the military with no benefits at all. So it's not far fetched that this could be something that's that is on the horizon. I will be very interested to see if the Second Amendment people are willing to fight for the transgender people.
Right.
Because they are, for the most part, in two totally different camps.
Yes.
Right? They're two totally different camps. So this is going to essentially be about gun rights. They're gonna try to. I believe the Department of Justice is going to try to make it, if you are diagnosed with gender, I think it's called dysmorphia, where you believe that you are a different gender than you were assigned at birth. They're going to use that probably as the basis of saying that because you have this, what they would say is a psychological disorder, they're going to use that the same way that they would use like someone that has a serious kind of mental health issue.
Yeah, you know what? Because I was thinking you saying that cleared up something for me, because my initial thought hearing what you were saying about them trying to ban transgenders from having firearms was, okay, they always said it's not guns that kill people, it's people that kill people. So in order to circumvent that type of thinking, of course, you're going to attach it to a psychological issue that you create out of nothing because everything is made up. But this is clearly made up to try to get people behind it. It's rather ridiculous because the history of mass shootings, the law got to start at white men. That's so ridiculous. That's ridiculous. So we have one. I don't know for sure, but I believe this is the only instance where a transgender has committed a mass shooting.
No, it's not the only one. One happened, I believe, last year. I believe last year there was one. But like you said, shooting people randomly is more a white male thing than anything.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's you think of the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pennsylvania. You think of the Buffalo shooting. You think as far back as Columbine. That's the first one I remember because I was in high school when it happened. It's all kind of follow the same MO. So if you're gonna take the rights away from a group because of their actions, like you said, I mean, you may want to start with that group, but that's the entire
NRA. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's plenty of other things going on, but those were the top ones that I wanted to touch on for a second.
Thank you for watching this video. Please remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.